Hi, in this video, we are going to learn how to create this simple portfolio website over here with pure HTML and CSS. But before you get excited, I've already created a folder containing all the assets we need to create the website. I'll leave a link below for you to download and unzip the assets, and let's get creating. Are you excited to create your own portfolio website? Buckle up and let's roll. Once you are done downloading the file, unzip the file and you have this folder. So I'll open the folder by double clicking, and if I open the folder, I have the assets folder and I'll have this index.html. So open the assets and then you have the style and the images. So once you open the images, these are the images we are going to use. So I'll go back and this is the style file. So just click to go to the main directory. So this is my main directory. So I'm going to open this in VS Code. I already have VS Code installed. If you don't have VS Code installed, just install VS Code and proceed. Since I have VS Code installed, I'll simply click over here. Then I'll type C and D to open command prompt. Once I have command prompt open, I can open this in VS Code by simply typing code space then period. Then I'll press enter. So I have the folder open. So I'll click to trust the authors. Then let me just zoom it. Let me zoom out a little bit. So here, this is the index.html file. There's nothing really going on. I just linked the CSS file. So this is the CSS file I'm linking. So first, just remove the title over here and you can write your name. So I can have my name. So just write your name over here. So after that, click on the assets, then click on the style, then the main.css. Don't worry about this code. These are just variables I've initialized. So we are going to use these variables. We have the color, the primary color, we have the secondary, the accent, the gray text. We have a bunch of variables we are going to use. What I'm doing up over here is importing a font from the Google font, and this is the font, DM Sans. So I've just grabbed everything and then I've set the font to the font I've imported. So now I'll click on the index.html to open the HTML file. So I have Live Server installed on my PC, so I can click on Go Live to open the Live Server. But if you don't have the Live Server, just click on the Extensions tab, then you can search for Live Server. So this is the Live Server over here. Just click to install it once you don't have it installed on the PC. So I already have the Live Server installed, so what I'm going to do is collapse this. So let me increase everything back. If you have the Live Server installed, you have this Go Live over here. Just click on the tab to open it. So once I open, I'll have a blank page over here. There's nothing really going on, and this is my title. So I can go back and then I'll click on the main.css, and what we have here is just comments so that we know how to style the web page. So the first thing we are going to target is the container. So the container is kind of like a wrapper to wrap everything. So what do I mean? So I can have a div with a class of container. So I have a div with a class of container. So if I write Lauren, then I press to have this Lauren dummy there. So I can open back, then I'll come. Then we'll have this Lauren text stretch from here to here. So what we want to do is to create a container that will center everything, so that our content will be focused at the center of the screen. So what do I mean? So first, let me open. Then let's grab the body. And then we'll set the margin of the body to 0. So that we'll remove the default margin that comes with the body. So if you check, the content is stretched from here and there's no longer any margin to the top and the left and the right. So I'm going to open. So now we are going to target the container class. So the container class. Next, I'm going to give it a maximum width. So if we scroll, we'll have the maximum width over here. So I'll come, then I'll have a max width, then I'll reference the variable, and then I'll reference the max width variable. So I think it's container. I think it's container width. So if you scroll, this is the container width. So basically what we are doing is setting the maximum width of the container to be this 1000 pixels over here. So I can come, then I'll basically set the width to 100% so that the container will stretch to fit the width of the maximum width. So if we open, then we'll have the maximum width over here. So now if you check, the content is ending here. So now let's try to bring it to the center. So I can use the margin. So margin. So if I give 0, then auto. So it means 0 to the top and the bottom, and the auto will simply center it. So if I come, we'll have the content focus at the center of the screen. So now I can open. Next is our headings. So I can come, then over here I can have an h1 tag, then I can write something like heading. So now hopefully if we open, this is the heading tag over here. So I'm going to style it. So I'll open back my design. So if we scroll, we'll have a heading font size, the line height, and the heading margin. So that's what I'm going to use to style it. So I'm going to grab all the h1 tag, then I'll set the font size, then I'll reference the variable on top, and the variable is simply heading font size. Then we'll have the line height of the heading, and I'll reference the variable again, which is heading line height. So next is the margin. So I'll set the margin to the variable, then heading margin. So if we scroll, these are the values we are just using. So this is the value. So this is the font size of the heading, this is the line height, and this is the margin we are setting. So if I open, we'll have the heading over here. And if you check, we have increased the font size of the heading, and now it's looking much better. So I'll open back, and then I'll scan. So next is the article. So I'm going to create. So we already have a text over here. So what I'm going to do is grab that text, then I'll put it in a paragraph over here. Then I'll just give it a class of article. So now we're going to style it. So if we scroll up, I have the article styles over here. We have the font size 100. We have the article line height 166%, so that the content will be readable for our users. So I can grab my article. So I'll style the font size. Then I'll reference the variable. I think the variable is, it's article font size. So next is the line height. So line height. Then I'll reference my variable again. Then I'll have the article line height. So now if I open, you'll find out that the text is now having much spaces between them. So this is much readable for our user. So I'll come back. So next is the section design. So the section is basically the sections of our website. So I can have a div for the class of section. And what I'll do is just write some text. Then I'll come down, have another div of section. Then here, I'll just write some boring text. Let me correct my class. So now, if we scroll, we'll find the section design. So for the section, what I'm doing is just giving them a margin at the top. So let me open up the design and explain better. So this is the design. So if you check each section, there's a bigger space. So if you check this section, there's a bigger space over here. And if you scroll to this section, there's a bigger space over here. That's basically what we are doing with the section. So just giving them a margin at the top. So I'll come, then I'll grab my section, then I'll give it a margin at the top. Then I'll reference the variable. So the variable is basically, it's section margin top. So section margin top. So this is the variable. So now hopefully if we come, each section is having a space over here. So this is basically what we want. Oh my god, our design is looking horrible. Let's open. So this is the container. So let's just delete everything. So after deleting everything, the first thing we are going to style is our navigation bar. So I'm going to have a nav bar. And inside the nav bar, I'm going to have the logo. So it's going to be an image, so an img. So if we go to the assets folder, images, then we'll have this logo.png. So just click and browse. So assets, images, logo.png. So this is the logo we are using. So I can close this. So next is our links. For our links, I'll put them in a div. Then I'll just call them links wrapper. So this will wrap the links, and here we'll have our links. So I'll have the first link. So let me just complete all the links. So now I have all the links over here: home, about, projects, and contact. So now we can start styling our navigation. So if I go, we'll have the logo, then we'll have the links over here. So the first thing I want to do is put them inside of our container so that we'll have the margins. So I'll grab everything, then I'll have div class of container, then I'll put everything. So we already have the styles of the container. So now if we open, we'll have the spaces, that's the margin. So now let's start styling. So I'm going to grab this container, and then I'll give it maybe nav. So let's just give it a class of nav. First, I'll grab the navigation bar, so the nav, then I'll come. So if you check, I'm not targeting the class over here, but rather I'm targeting this element, which is wrapping everything. So I'll go, then we'll start styling. First, I want to position it fixed. So after it is fixed, I'll have the top of 0, then the left of 0. So I'll have a width of 100%. So now if we come, it will be fixed at the top, but it's not yet obvious because we don't have scrollable content. So next, let's style our logo. So this is the logo. So the logo is inside of this container with a class of nav. So what I'm going to do is simply grab it. So nav class, then I'll give it a display of flex. So sorry about my selection. I'll give it a display of flex so that it will be in a row format. So now if we come, hopefully it is in the form of a row. So next, I'll target our logo. So I'll give the logo a class. So I'll open. So this is the logo. I'll just give it a class. I can call it logo. So now I can come, then I'll target my logo. Then hopefully what I want to do is give it a width of maybe 100 pixels. So now hopefully if we come, we'll have our logo over here. Let's decrease it a little bit. I think now it's much better. So now we want to push all the links to this side so that the logo will be here and the links will be at the side of the screen. So this is the nav. So this nav class is containing everything. Let me just change the nav class so that it will not confuse you. So I'll change it to nav content. So I'll copy, then I'll open back. So this is the nav, so I'll just paste the nav content. So now I want to push this link wrapper, everything over there to the last of the screen, to the end of the screen. So I'll just come. So this is it. So if I use justify content, then if I use the space between, it will simply push everything. So we'll have the links to this side, we'll have the logo at the first. So what I'm going to do is to handle the alignment. If you check, the links over here is just aligned to the top. So I'm going to use the align items, then center. So now hopefully everything will be aligned perfectly. So next is to target the links over here. So to start the links, we have a links wrapper. So I'm going to grab the links wrapper. Then I'm going to target it. I'll just give it a display of flex, and then I'll give align items center to align them very well. Then I'll give them a gap. Let's just go with 1.5 rem. So now hopefully if I open, we'll have the links and we'll have spaces between them. So now let's start styling the links. So to start the links, I'll simply grab the links wrapper, then I'll use the greater than sign, then I'll put A. So what it basically means is go inside the links wrapper and then target all the A elements over there, which is the anchor elements. So if we open, this is the links wrapper and this is the anchor element. So we are trying to target these anchor elements and style them. So first I'm going to change the text So I'm going to use the text transform to uppercase. So I'll transform them to uppercase. So next is the color. So I've changed the color to, I'm going to target a variable I've created, and I'm going to use the gray color. So if you scroll, this is the color we are using. This 60, 60, 60. That's the gray color we are using to style the links. So now let me scroll down, and then let's open. Now if we open, we'll have the links over here, and we'll have the color change to the gray color. So next is the font size. Font size. So I'm going to use 0.8 frames. So now if we come, our links are much better. So we have our navigation style. So next is the hero. So let me open back and let's start styling the hero section. So now I'll open. So this is the navigation. I'll come below the navigation. I'll simply have a div. Then I'll just call it hero. Then I'll press enter. So inside of this div, we'll have the container wrapping everything. So I'll just grab it. Then I'll have a div of container. Then I'll simply put the hero section over here. So now we can start writing the text over here. So first, I'm going to have a div, and inside of this div, we are going to have an h1 tag, and I'll write something like hello, comma, then I'll put this sentence. So I'll have another h1, then just write your name over here. So I'm going to write my name. So you can change this to your own name. So we'll have this. So next, we are going to have another div over here. Then I'm going to write some text over here. So let me write the text. So I have my text over here. You can just write a short biography about yourself. So I'm going to use this text since it's simple. So now I'm going to open. So once I open, I'll have this over here. So now we can start styling. So first, I'll try to bring it to the center of the screen. So how do I achieve it? So this is the hero, right? So I'm going to grab the hero class, and then I'm going to start styling it. So I'm going to give it a minimal height of maybe 100 viewport height, and then I'll give it a pattern. For the top, I'm going to give it 70 pixels, and for the bottom, 70 pixels. For the left and right, I'm just going to give it 0 pixels since it's wrapped in a container. So now, hopefully, if I come, we'll have the text over here. So now let's try to bring it to the center. So I'm going to give it a display of flex. So once I've given it a display of flex, we'll have this text over here. Then we'll have the heading over here. So now I'm going to use align item center so that it will be aligned to the center over here. So now our design is coming to life. So next up, I'm going to target this and design it. So I'm going to grab this, then I'm going to give it a class of sub underscore heading. Then I'm going to grab it. So now I'll start styling the sub heading. So first I want to give it a font size. Then I want to use a variable. I've already have a subheading variable over here. So, okay, this is the heading 2. So I'm going to use this heading 2 to style it. So we have the font size 2 and we have the line height and we have the margin. So I'm going to come down. So we have the subheading. So I'm going to use the heading 2 font size. Then next is the line height. So sorry, oh my god, so line height. So I'll use the variable again, which is the heading 2 line height. Then next is the margin. So margin, oh my god, margin. So I'll target it again. So heading 2 margin. So now hopefully if we open, we'll have this text over here. But if you check, our text at this side is already trying to shrink so that this text will fit the screen. So to fix this, I'm going to come over here. Then I'll give this thing. Then I'll give this wrapper a class. So, oh my god. I'll give it a class of maybe heading underscore wrapper. Now I'm going to target the heading wrapper. Then I'll just give it a flex of 60%. So what it basically means is try to cover 60% of the screen. So now hopefully if we open, then we'll have our design over here. So this is the design. So next is changing the color of this. So we have this gray color over here. So we are going to use the gray color. So I'll basically go up, then I'll have a class of gray text. So let's just give it gray text. So I'll change the color to our gray color. So I'll go, is it gray text or gray text? So I'm going to use this class. So I'll basically come, then I'll have the class which is gray text. So now hopefully if we open, we'll have this text change to the gray color. So next is to put our arrow. So let me just roll up the design. So this is the design. So next up, we are going to put this arrow over here. So what I'll do is open back. So this is the hero over here. So this is the container. So I'll come below the hero. I'll have the container. Then I'll have a div. And inside of this div, I'll just have an image. The arrow is an image inside the icons, and it is arrow.png. So I'm going to target it. So access, images, icons, and arrow.png. So now if I open, hopefully we'll have this big arrow over here. So let's try to decrease the size of the arrow. So I'm going to give it a class of arrow. Oh my god. So I'll copy the class, then I'll come below, then I'll target the arrow. So I'll give it a width of maybe 60 pixels. So now hopefully if we come, we'll have the arrow decrease. So let's just decrease it one more time. So let's just make it maybe 40 pixels. So now I think 40 pixels is better. But we have this arrow below the screen. So we want it to be visible. So to achieve this, I'm going to decrease the height of the hero. So what do I mean? The hero is covering the entire screen of the person. So I can decrease it. So let's go. So this is the hero. So instead of 100 viewport height, I can make it 90 viewport height. So now we'll have the arrow visible over here. So now I think our design is looking much better. So next is the about section. So if I open the design, we'll have an about section over here. So let's try to create it. So I'll open back my design, go to the index.html, come below everything, then we can start our about. First, we are going to create the section. So div with the class of section, and then we'll have a container inside the section. So now we can start designing. So if I write Lorem text over here, so just write Lorem text, and then if I open, then I scroll, we'll have our content over here, and we'll have the margin over here. So let me just remove everything, then we can start styling. I'm going to have an h2 with a class of subheading, and I'm going to write about me. So now hopefully if we open, we'll have this about me over here. So what I'm going to do is try to bring it to the center. But if you check, we already have this class over here, which is the subheading class we are using to target this. So I'm going to target the h2 with a class of subheading. So I'll come to the about section. So h2 with a class. So so it's h2 with a class of sub underscore header. So this basically means target all h2 elements with a class of subheader. So I'm going to bring it to the center by using text align, then center. So now hopefully if we come, we'll have it to the center of the screen. So next up, I'm going to have another div, and inside of this div, we'll have our image over here, that is the profile picture. So I'm going to go to the assets folder, images, then profile.png. Now I'll give it a class of profile. Then we'll have other supplementary text at the side. So I'll have the text. So this is the div, and inside of this div, I'll have my text. First, I'll have a paragraph over here. Then I'll write the content of the paragraph. So I'll just paste this content over here. So you can write this content by yourself. So let me remove this. So let me just make it much nicer so that you can see the content. So this is what I've written. So next up, I'm going to put another paragraph over here, and then I'm going to paste this content over there. So I'll bring this over here, and I'll bring this. So let me remove these spaces, and I'll remove these spaces. So now you can pause the video and write this content, or you can choose to write anything you want over here. So now, if I open, then we scroll, we'll have this large image, then we'll have the supplementary text over here. So let's start styling. So this is the container wrapping everything. So what I'm going to do is basically give it a class of maybe flex container, so flex container. And here I'm going to grab the flex container, but bear in mind that we already have this profile with a class of profile. So I'll come here, I'll target the flex container, then I'll have the display of flex, then I'll have a gap of 2 rem. So next is the profile. I'll give it a width of 200 pixels. So now hopefully if we open, we'll have this nice profile over here, then we'll have our supplementary text at this side. So next I'm going to increase the gap. So instead of 2, I'll just make it 5 frames. So I like to have a bigger space between my contents. So next is a margin. So we'll have a margin between our subheading and the profile over here. So I'm going to give it a margin. For the top and bottom, I'm going to use 3 rems. For the left and right, 0. So now our design is looking much better. So next is to put my icons over here. So I'm going to come below this. I'm going to have another div with a class of icons container. So icons underscore container. And inside of my icons container, I'll have each icon. I'll have a div with a class of icon, which will contain each icon. Then I'll have the images. So if we go to images, then we'll have the icons. So slash access slash images. So remove this slash, there are 2. So I want 1, so 1. So next is the Instagram. So images slash icons. Then we use the Instagram. So I'll copy this icon. Then I'll paste it 3 more times. So I'll change this Instagram to Twitter. So Twitter X. Then I'll change this to the next icon, which is LinkedIn, to have my icons. So now hopefully if I open, we'll have the icons very big over here. And if you check, the profile is trying to stretch to fit their icons. To solve this, I'm going to give the profile, so this is the profile, I'm going to give it a height of maybe 200 pixels. So that we'll have a perfect circle over here. So next, let's try to target all the icons and style them. So we'll have an icons container, so that's what I'm going to target first. So I'm going to target my icons container. So I'm going to give it a margin at the top of maybe 3 rems. So now hopefully if we come, we'll have a bigger margin at the top over here. And next, I'll try to make them flex, so display of flex. Then I'll give them a gap. I'll give each a gap of maybe 1.5 rems. So now hopefully if I open, we'll have our icons in a row format. So next is the circles in the icons. So if we open the designs, so if I open the design, we'll have these perfect circles attached to each icon. So that's what I'm going to style. So if we open the index.html, we already have the icon class over here. So that's what I'm going to use to style them. So we'll have the icon, which is wrapping all the icons. So I'm going to give it a width I'm going to give it a width of 2 rems and a height of 2 rems. Then I'm going to give it a border radius of 50 pixels. So this will create a perfect circle. So if I give it a background, so let's go with our dark background, our gray background rather, so our gray text. So now hopefully if I open, we'll have these gray backgrounds over here. So I think 2 pixels is not enough, so let's increase it to maybe 4 rems and each 4 rems. So now hopefully I think our design is much nicer. So let's decrease the size of our icons. So I'll go inside each icon, I'll target the images. So the images, which is the img tag. So first is to give each a width of 1.5 rem and a height of the same 1.5 rem. So now hopefully if we come, we'll have the icons over here. Let's increase the icons to 2 rems, so 2 rems and 2 rems. So now hopefully if I open, I'll have the icons increase. But if you check the design, I think the icons color, I think the circle color is not gray. So let's fix that. So this is the circle color. So I think this is the color I'm using. So I think it's F2, F2, F2. So now hopefully if we open, we'll have this nicer color over here. So let's bring them to the center. So to bring them to the center, so this icon is wrapping everything. And this icon is the circles. And inside the circles, we have our images. So I'm going to grab the icon. Then I'm going to give it a display of flex. So display of flex. Then I'm going to use align item center and justify content center to bring them to the center of the circles. So now hopefully if I open, I'll have each of them at the center of my circle. I'm going to give this a class of article. So I'm going to use the article class that we have already declared. Then I'm going to give each of them article class, then a class of article. So now our text is much more readable. For those of you who need this simple minimal backgrounds over here, I'll leave a link below for you to download the backgrounds for your desktop. You have come a long way. I think it's time for you to take a break. Leave your computer, go around, have some fresh air, and come back and let's continue. I'm happy to see you back. Let's continue with our website development. So next is the project section. So if I open, this is the next screen we are going to target. So I'm going to open back, and now I'm going to decrease this. So this section is the about me section. So I'll come below the about me section, then I'll have another section. And here I'm going to copy this text, which is the subheading, and I'm going to create another container and put everything inside there. So I'm going to put the subheading inside the container, so a div with the class of container. Then we'll have our subheading. So here we'll have a div, and I'll call it projects container, and it will contain all our project elements. So if I open, then I come, then I scroll. So let's change it to I created. So I think I wrote something like I created. So now hopefully we'll have I created over here. So next I'm going to grab the project container, then I'm going to give it a margin at the top so that I'll separate it from the subheading. So margin at the top of 3 rems. So next I'm going to open the design. So this is our design. So I'm going to have an image, then beside the image we'll have the text elements, then we'll have a link, then we'll have a line over here. So I'm going to open, then we'll start creating everything. So I'm going to have a div, and here I'm going to have my image. So the first image I'm going to access images, then projects. So first we have the to-do app, then I'm going to close this. So we are going to have another div over here, and inside this div I think we have a title. So let me open the design. So I think we have a title over here. So I'll have an H2, then I'm going to write the title of this section. So I'll have my title over here. Just write this. So this is the first project, which is the to-do application, and beside it we have another paragraph, and inside of this paragraph we are going to have some lorem text. So lorem text, I'm going to give this lorem text a class of article. So article class, then I'll copy this, then I'll paste this to have this over here, and below here we'll have another link. So I'll have an anchor tag, then I'll have link. So I'll write something like more shots. So now hopefully if we open, then we'll have this horrible design. So let's start designing it. So if you check, the project container is wrapping everything, and inside it we have the image. So I'm going to give the image with class project underscore image, and here have a class of maybe project underscore title, but here we are going to use our subtitle class over here so that we'll style it a little bit. So I'll scroll down, come to this link, I'll give the class of project underscore link. So next, let's start with the project container. So I've already grabbed the project container. I'm going to give it a display of flex, then I'm going to give it a gap of maybe 5 frames. After that I'll open, and once I open, then we'll have this horrible design. So let's target the image and make it smaller. So I'll come, then I'll target the project underscore image class. Is it project image? So let me open. So I think it's project underscore image. So I'll target the project underscore image class, and here basically what I'm doing is giving it a width of maybe 200 pixels. Now hopefully if we open, we'll have the image shrink. So let's increase the image so to maybe 350 pixels, and now hopefully we'll have this nicer image over here. So next is the title. So I'm going to grab the project title. So this is the project title. I'm going to grab it, then we'll start styling it. So project title. So first I want to change the color to our gray color. So to the text gray. So I think it's text. So it's gray text. And I'm going to give it a margin at the bottom of maybe 3 rems. So that if we open, we'll have this over here. Then we'll have this margin between this text and this text. So now hopefully if I open my design, so let me open back the design, and if I check, we'll have this text over here, and this text, what we are doing basically is changing the color to gray. So if you remember, if we go on top, we already have a class which is handling this. So this is the class, the gray text. So I'll go, so this article, I'm just going to give it a gray text class. And now hopefully if we come, the color will be changed to gray text. So next is to design our link. So I'm going to come, so I'm going to grab the class which is project underscore link. Then I'll scroll down, then I'll basically have the class over here. First I want to change the font size to 0.8 rem. So after that, I want to change the text, so I want to transform the text to uppercase. After that, I want to change the color to the accent color. So we have the accent color variable. So now hopefully if we open, then we'll have this over here. So next, I want to make it bold. So now if we open, we'll have it bold over here. So next, I want to give it a margin. For the top and the bottom, I'm going to use 2 rems. For the left and right, 0 rems. So now hopefully if we open, nothing is happening over here because it's not a block element. So I'm going to change the display to block, and I'm sure if we open, now we'll have the margin attached to the link over here. So let me fix my spelling. So now I think we'll have this perfect design over here. So I'm going to copy it and then I'll paste it one more time. So this is the project container which is wrapping everything, and I'm going to copy a project container. So the project container, I'll copy it and then I'll paste it. So now hopefully if we open, we'll have these designs over here. So now I'm going to change the images and the titles. So I'll scroll. So this is the first, so this is the second over here. So I'm going to change the second, then I'm going to change the image. So let's open the design and then I'll refresh my mind. So this is the design. So for the second, we are using the food delivery application. So this is the second, so the food delivery application. So slash foodapp.png. So here I'm going to change it to food. So now hopefully if we open, then we'll have the to-do list, then we'll have our food delivery application. So next is the last. So for the last, it's a Discord clone. So I'm going to remove this, then I'll put Discord clone, and here I'll just write Discord. So Discord clone, and this is the third project. So now hopefully if we open, we'll have the first project, we'll have the second project, and we'll have the third project over here. But we are not yet done. So if we open the design, we are having lines over here. So let's try to put those borders over here to separate them. So I'm going to come, then I'm going to grab the project container, then I'm going to give each of them a border at the bottom of 0.1 rem solid. Then I'm going to use this color. So I'm going to go with this color HDDD. So now hopefully if I open, we'll have these borders over here which is separating them, and now our design is looking much better. So next is the contact form. So let me open the contact form. So this is our contact form over here. So let's try to design it. I'm going to open my index.html, and here we are starting another section. Then we'll have our container. We are going to have a section wrapper which will wrap everything. So oh my god, so write section underscore, I cannot even spell section, so section underscore wrapper. And here we are going to have a div, and inside of this div we'll have an h2 which I'll write something like get in. Then we'll have a paragraph. So I'll have this text over here, and I'll have another paragraph, and then I'll paste this text over here. So let me make it much more visible. Let me make it visible so that you can look at the text and also write it down. And below this, we are having our social media handles. So since we have already styled them, I'll go on top and look for them. So these are the icons. So grab the icons container which is wrapping all the social media links, and then bring it down over here, and below this paragraph I'll paste it down. So now this div is wrapping everything inside there. So I'm going to have another div which will wrap our form elements. So first we are going to have an input for the email, then another input for the message. So this will be for the email, and I'll have a label for email. Then I'll write email. Then I'll have the input over here, the type of email. I'm going to give it a class of input. Then I'll remove this. So I'm going to copy this. Then I'm going to duplicate this for the message. So here we are not going to use an input, we are going to use a text field. So we're going to use a text area. Then I'm just going to give it a rows. So maybe let's just go with 5 rows. So 5 rows. So change this to this. Just write 5 over here. So I'm going to remove the ID and the name. Then I'm going to give it a class of input, just like we did over here. And below here, we are going to have our button. So we are going to have a button. Then I'm going to write send message. And I'm going to give it a class of submit. So submit. Oh my god, submit. So now hopefully if we open, then we'll have our text over here. So now let's start designing. So the first thing I want to design, let me zoom out and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. So if you check this section wrapper over here, it's wrapping everything. So this is the container containing everything. And if we click on this first div, so it is wrapping the get in touch and the text below it with the icons. We are having another container which is wrapping all the inputs. If we give this display of flex, it will simply put them in the form of a row. So what do I mean? If I copy the section wrapper, so let me increase it, then I'll come, then I'll grab this. So if I give it a display, so display of flex and a gap of maybe 5 rems. So now hopefully if we come, we'll have them displayed this way. So next, let's style this side, then we'll get back to the side. So I'm going to come, so this is the first side. I'm going to give it a class of maybe contact. So contact. So the first thing I want us to style is our inputs. So I'm going to grab the inputs, so input class. Then I'm going to give each of them a background color of, I'm going to use this color F1, F1, F1. So it's just a lighter color, so F1, F1. So now hopefully if we open, then we'll have our inputs over here. So next I'm going to remove the border, so border of none. Then I'm going to give each of them a pattern of maybe 0.5 rem, then a width of 100%. So now hopefully if we open, we'll have our input designs over here. So next, let's target our labels. So I'll target the label. Then I'll give each of them a font size of 0.8 rems. Then I'll transform the text, so text transform to uppercase. Then I'll change the color to our primal color. So now we'll have this over here. So next I'll make them bold. So now hopefully if I open, I'll have this design over here. So now let's decrease the width of this over here, so we'll have a nicer design. So I'll go to the index.html, then we'll have a class of contact which is wrapping these. So I'm going to open my CSS, then I'll target the contact. So first, I want to give it a max width of maybe 450 pixels. So now hopefully if we open, we'll have this over here. But if you check, the width of our input are shrink over here. So what I'm going to do is open. So then I'll grab the container containing these, the inputs. So this is the div containing everything there. So I'm going to give it a class of maybe inputs underscore wrapper. So I'll copy the class, then I'll open, then I'll grab this, then I'll give it a width of 100%, so 100%. So now hopefully if I open, we'll have this perfect design over here. So next is the button. So I'm going to come, so this is the button submit. So I'm going to grab the button. Then first, I'll change the background color. So the background color to the accent color. So accent color, I'll give it a pattern. For the top and left, I'll go with 0.5 rem, and for the right and left, I'll go with 1 rem. So next is to remove the border. So border of none. So now we'll have this perfect pattern over here. So next is the text. So I'm going to use the text transform, then uppercase to transform the text to uppercase. Then I'll change the color to white. So white is FFF. So 3 of them is perfect. So if we open, we'll have this text over here. So next I'm going to make it bold. So I'm going to use the font weight of bold. And then hopefully if we open, we'll have this. So if you move your cursor on top of this, it will still be this arrow. So let's change it to a pointer. So we are going to use the cursor pointer to remove the arrow sign. So hopefully if we hover on it, it will change to this arrow over here. So now I think our design over here is done. So next is the footer. So I'm going to roll up my design. So if you check the design, this is our footer. We have the logo and we have some supplementary links over here. So I'm going to simply come down, and here we'll have our footer. So footer, and inside of this footer we'll have our logo. So first let me just go up, then we'll copy this just like we did for the nav bar. That's the same thing we are basically doing over here. So I'm going to go up. So this is the nav bar. So this is the nav content. So I'm going to copy the nav content. Then I'll come down. So this is the footer. And here first I'm going to have a section. So I take the class of section. So after we are done with the section, I'll have a container. So I'll paste this over here. So this container. So hopefully if we come, so if we open, we'll have this design over here. I'm going to change these links to the social media handles. So I'm going to come, and here we'll have Instagram, and here we'll have LinkedIn. Oh my god, can I spell LinkedIn? And here we'll have Twitter. So I'll remove the contact over here. And now we'll have this perfect design over here. So now I think our website is almost done. So if we scroll, we'll have this perfect design. But if you check, the design is not that responsive. So we can handle the responsiveness of our design. So that's the next thing we are going to do. So I'm going to open this over here. Then let's just remove the folder. Then I'm going to target the responsiveness. So I'm going to put an @ sign. Then I'm going to use my media queries. So media queries. So at media, then we'll have the maximum width. So if the maximum width of the person is 800 pixels, then we'll start applying these styles. So this is the hero over here. So I'm going to change the hero. So I'm going to change the flex direction of the hero to column. So if I come, then I'll grab my hero. Then I'll change the flex direction to column. So now hopefully if we come, then we reduce the size and go up. Now if you check the hero, we have this design over here. So this is basically what we are going to do for all the containers. So I'm going to go up. After the hero, the next section over there is the about section. So I'll go up and look for the about section. So this is the about section, and this is the flex container. So I'm going to grab the flex container, then I'll style it. So I'm going to apply the same style. So I'll put the comma, then I'll paste this. So now hopefully if I reduce and if I come to the about section, it has changed the flex direction. So next is our projects. So I'm going to go up and look for the projects. So this is the project. So go up. So have the project container with the flex. So that is where the flex is affecting. So I'm going to put a comma, then I'm going to paste the project container. So now hopefully if I reduce, then if we come to the project container, we'll have this perfect design over there. So now if we scroll, we are having our design is coming to life. So in left with the contact section over here. So I'm going to increase, then I'm going to go up, then look for the contact section. So this is the flex, so I'm going to grab this, then I'll come, now put comma, then I'll have this section wrapper class. So now if I come, hopefully let's reduce. So now we are having this perfect designs over here. But if you check, we don't have margins at the sides of the content. So to handle this, I'm going to grab the container which is affecting all of them. So, oh my god, container. Then I'm going to give it a pattern 0 to the top and left, 0 to the top and the bottom, and maybe 3 realms to the right and the left. So hopefully if we come, we'll have spaces there. So now we'll have this perfect design over here. So we have successfully created our portfolio website over here, and it is responsive.